Before you quit your job to trade, know this. Doom, Murphy, courage, gratitude that I'm going to discuss. My name is Jeff. Straight out of high school, I completed 8 honorable years in the United States Marine Corps. I recently quit my CDL-A trucking job to pursue trading full time. Within my career as a driver, I was trading options within the last 3.5 years. In the month of August, starting with a balance of about $600, I need to grow that account to about $6,000. As of market close Friday, that account was sitting at $778. Thinkorswim is undergoing maintenance right now. Today is Saturday morning, and so I'll show you a video recording of when I actually closed my Walmart position. The account was at $990 during the week, nearly at $1,000, but ultimately the ending balance is $778. 4 things you need to know: Doom, Murphy, courage, gratitude that I'm going to discuss in this video. And the last one is a bonus, is my Walmart trade. If you're willing to stick around, I'm going to go over the chart pattern that I saw and why I decided to enter the trade, etc. Trading is risky. Consult with a financial advisor. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. I'm also not suggesting that you quit your job, but if you are contemplating quitting your job to trade, the information that I could share could help you along your journey. I'm not telling you to quit, so keep your job. Feel free to comment at any moment. I also have a trading community that you could join, the Truckers Who Trade community, link in description. Would you like to be my first member? Well, nice to meet you in advance. Doom. First topic. Okay, let's get into it. All right. We just jumped over to the iPad. The sensation of impending doom. That's what we're going to talk about. Now, when you don't have income and you're basically an entrepreneur, because ultimately that's what trading is. It's a business, and if you don't perceive it as a business, then your likelihood of failure is extremely high. But anytime you try to do something beyond a W-2, you're basically out on your own, and whatever you're doing, there's always this feeling of impending doom in the background. You could be having the very best day of your life. As you can see, like I drew these little faces, right? You could be having the very best day of your life, but in the background, in the middle, there's this negative feeling that's there. Like, what if it fails? What if it all just goes away? You're in the face of uncertainty and you don't know the outcome of what will happen. And you can allow that feeling to cripple you, or you could acknowledge it and allow it to pass through. But this feeling, it never really goes away. Now, trading takes a bad rap, but if you decide to start a business, you're going to encounter this feeling. Any type of decision that you're trying to make that comes with risk, you're going to encounter this feeling. And that's because of uncertainty. It's not knowing. People are afraid of the unknown. That's a fear. And that fear prevents a lot of people from pursuing the things that they would otherwise pursue. They lock into paralysis analysis. They get stuck in this impending doom, and then they never actually do anything because they're so afraid. Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Let me give you a quick example. So you have an important business meeting with the bank for a loan. You're all showered, cleaned up, then suddenly you need to drop a deuce. So you rush to the bathroom, you relieve yourself, and then you realize, oh dang, there's no toilet paper. You're out. So then, what do? You're forced to hop in the shower, right? Clean up, and then that makes you late. You're like, oh boy, you're gonna be late. So you rush out to your car, which you have a flat tire. It's like anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So you finally get to the bank. They give you the loan. You open up your restaurant. On the day of your grand opening, they announce COVID shutdowns. Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So for me, with Murphy's Law, what I encountered was a good faith violation on Thinkorswim. I trade with a cash account. In a cash account, you can only trade with settled funds, and the funds will clear the next day. Well, when I first quit, I was trading, day trading, and scalping, basically in and out, in and out, in and out. And I basically unknowingly, just trading in the zone, exceeded my settled funds. This happened to me 2 times. Both times, honest mistake. I'm in the zone, not paying too much attention, and boom, hit my violations. Thinkorswim, it was a slap in the hand the first time. The second time is when Murphy's Law kicked in. The second time, they allowed me to enter in a position, but they would not allow me to close the position once it started to move against me. And so I had to sit there and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. price moved viciously against me, and it caused me to lose like $500. I was up on the day about $200, and total I incurred a $300 loss, and that was a major hit. And Murphy's Law are always these like really moments, like really. And once I realized, like, oh dang, this, if I keep doing this, I'll keep encountering the same situation. So what systems can I put in place to avoid good faith violations? But with that, I had to adjust my trading so that I can avoid this issue. So whenever you quit or leave your job or whatever you decide to do in life, whatever endeavors you're going to pursue, you will encounter Murphy's Law. It's just these little things that might just get in your way, these small little issues that it's like, really, of all the times for this to happen, why here, why now? And it always seems to be little obstacles that you have to overcome. But they can be surmounted. These obstacles can be surmounted. So do not allow Murphy's Law to hinder you. Courage. This is where we're at. And we're not going to jump on the iPad for this one. I'm just going to talk right here. Courage. Courage is action in spite of fear. One of the things about courage, people are afraid of the unknown, and that's what holds them back. It keeps them locked in place. It's a prison, and it's never going to be comfortable. If you decide to make the leap and you have all your preparations in place to transition you from careers, you're going to feel a lot of fear. If you make that leap, that means you have courage, because there are other people that are gridlocked. And part of courage, because there's one thing to make a leap and be a total fool. There's another thing to make a leap and be afraid, but you act anyways simply because you have training to fall back on. In the military, the Marine Corps, essentially, from my perspective, is we're going to simulate a war environment for you, and you bask in that environment. You live in that environment. You're miserable in that environment, so that when you're actually in war, it's just another day. It's still stressful. It's always stressful. The risk of death and bodily harm are extremely high, but you've been here in training. So just fall back on your training. Take the next step. Do the next thing. You will be afraid. There will be chaos, but fall back on your training. And so with my trading for the last 3.5 years, I've just been building, developing skills, stacking understanding, and falling back on my training, taking the very next step, all the while being scared out of my mind doing it. But that's what it takes to start a business. That's what it takes to make a leap of any kind. A guy who is attracted to a girl and he wants to ask her out, it takes courage for him to do that because he has to make that leap. The mother who decides to have children, leave her career, start a business, and do it all at the same time, it takes courage. My background is trucking, and there are drivers who they take the leap to own their own trucking companies. But it takes courage to do that. And when you make the leap, you're going to be afraid. This is something that I have to remind you. You're going to be afraid. You're going to feel these sensations of impending doom at all times. But you just have to take the next step. And what will give you the confidence within the courage is the training, the understanding that you've experienced some successes within what you're already doing that you're going to pursue. And so with my trading, I discovered positive expectancy in a particular strategy. So that gave me the courage. I saw it through and I did multiple back tests. I'm like, wow, this is nice. I like it. And I believe that with enough time, I can grow my account to sustain my livelihood and I don't need to truck drive anymore. The challenge with that, though, is avoiding the risk of ruin before I reach this critical point, the point of economic impact. And so that's what gave me the courage to say, like, you know what, I'm going to pursue this formula and I'm going to take the chance. And that in and of itself is a trade. I've traded one career for another trade, for another career. Yes, and literally another trade, like another occupation. Yes, and that took courage. And it's shocking, and a lot of people are afraid of that, especially with the high failure rate of traders. 90% of traders fail. I'm sure you've heard that. But guess what? 90% of businesses fail. 90% of people fail at 90% of everything. Does that stop people from trying? So should people be ridiculed? When someone decides to start an insurance company, are they ridiculed the way that someone decides to trade is ridiculed. When someone decides to start their business, are they ridiculed? They're taking the same chances. I mean, an entrepreneur is literally a risk taker. If you watch any of Elon Musk interviews, how many times he came near to bankruptcy? If you watch Steve Jobs, how many times he came near to bankruptcy with his various businesses? This is like the unknown, uncertainty is all that we have. The job that you think you're safe, you can lose that job. They could fire you at any moment. The economy could go to BS. And guess what are you going to do? What are you going to fall back on? Either way, uncertainty is what brings fear. And you got to have the courage to walk through that fire of fear. Walk through that fire of pain, suffering. I basically learned that in the Marine Corps because it was miserable. They make you get comfortable with being uncomfortable because there's nothing comfortable about war. There's a lot of people who cannot handle the uncomfortability of not having steady income. That's why they could never be entrepreneurs. They can never be business owners. And trading is a business. Now we have gratitude. So gratitude, every inch forward, you must appreciate that because it's progress. Slow progress is better than no progress. And in my experience, every tiny trade that I win, that's progress. When you're facing incredible odds, every tiny little win, you must appreciate them. Those are the tiny little victories that reward you to keep going. It's the mechanism of the next step because it's a long journey, and the payoff does not necessarily come right away. The payoff is further down the way. So in between, having ways to reward yourself will help you along. And reward does not necessarily mean you go out and you spend some money. It doesn't require any additional thing other than you mentally saying to yourself, you did good. These tiny little, oh, you did great. You did great. Why? It's psychological warfare when you're facing uncertainty because you will face doubt. You will face a whole bunch of things, and those can dominate your mind. They can be the elephant in the room. Well, you have the choice based on what you choose to put attention to. You have the choice to put attention to the things that matter most, that will help you along. Thinking about the circumstance is not going to help you, but thinking about, wow, I really nailed that trade. That was excellent. I need to do more of that. Focusing and leaning more on the things that are working and being gracious for them, having gratitude towards them is what will really get you moving. It'll really get that courage kicking in where you're falling back on your training, the successes that you've seen in the past, because that's what you're focusing on. That's what you're being gracious for. Now, I want to jump over to the iPad to share with you a chart that I drew. So, choice shapeshifts destiny. The choices you make determines the circumstances that you experience. This is one of my core beliefs. And I've got this risk reward that may be familiar to traders, but not necessarily everyone else. Every choice has risk and reward. It's always a give and take. If you choose to go left, that means you didn't go right. And because you didn't go right, you totally collapse the outcomes of events that would have occurred if you went right. So I've got A, B, C, D, E, F as choices. If you notice that if you choose choice A, it's very moderate risk with a decent amount of reward. Choice F is a lot of risk, but massive reward. There's no cap to the reward on choice F. And every day we are humans who make 30,000 choices a day. I think the last time I seen on Google when I searched it, it was like 30,000 choices a day that the average person makes. So many choices. And each choice has reward attached behind it. And it is also attached to risk. As a trader, you learn to assess choices, aka trades. You learn the difference between good trades and bad trades. You learn the difference between a trade that has very little risk, like B, and big reward behind it, like choice B. And most people, the average person who does not have trading training, they don't understand this concept. They don't understand the differences between trades. And so they may end up making C choices in life where they bear a lot of risk with very little reward. And for me, trucking felt like it was a C choice. Being a truck driver, the risk is existential. If I get into a wreck, someone dies, I go to prison. If I get into a wreck and I die, I lose my life. I can damage property on accident. Like it's crazy. But the reward was like what? Barely scraping by. it's a dead end job, and the autonomous robots are coming to replace drivers. So I saw that my runway as a truck driver was ending anyways. I needed to transfer over. I need to make different choices. And there's different careers. Within each career, there's risk and there's reward attached behind each one of them. And I chose trading. It's extremely high risk. I chose choice F. It's extremely high risk, but there's uncapped reward. But ultimately, this risk reward chart right here, it applies to everything in life. It does not just apply to trading. And in my moments of gratitude, when I make a choice, then I'm like, wow, that was a great choice. That was a great risk reward. Like, you're doing the right thing. And so when I reflect on my week, on my trades, on my actions, I ensure to incorporate a little bit of gratitude for each positive choice, because that's what allows me to keep moving forward. I hope that message was clear. Now, over here at Walmart, Thinkorswim is still doing their technical updates. I got a notification about it on Friday that they would be doing this, so I can't really show you my Walmart trade. Just look out for it on my next video. I've got the Truckers Who Trade community up. I've got it up for truck drivers, but no one seems to be interested. It appears, I may have to take this down. I don't know.